Is he a flamethrower or a Marine blazing a trail for free speech rights in the military? And it's been billed as the savior of the city of San Diego's pension woes. But revelations about a pension reform measure on the June ballot raise questions about its effectiveness if it passes. Joining me are reporters Tony Perry from the LA Times and Allison St. John from KPBS News. Tony, Sergeant Gary Stein, a Marine, faces a discharge because of comments he posted on his Armed Services Tea Party Facebook page that were critical of President Obama. How familiar are troops with Pentagon policy forbidding them from engaging in political activity?
I think they're very, very familiar. Not possibly that particular statute in the Uniform Code of Military Justice, but they know. Just like around the dinner table, you know how far you can push your father before in an argument before you wish you hadn't. They know. You want to spout off to your buds in the barracks or at the VFW hall in Vista? Fine. To a reporter with a notebook? Not fine. On a website? Particularly not fine. They know.
Well, a reader on your website said, look, the military is meant to preserve democracy, not practice it. What's the thinking behind this policy forbidding military personnel from expressing themselves politically in a public way?
The military is not a democracy. The military is different than all other kinds of employment, including other governmental jobs. You may be asked someday, told someday to go from point A to point B. This is particularly true of Marines. And with a good potential that you're going to get killed at point B, maybe horribly killed. And you have no right not to move from point A to point B. You cannot debate it. It's not a debating society. It is different than all other kinds of employment. They know when they sign on the dotted line that they're going to put certain of their free speech rights in escrow. Can't touch them while they're in. Can reclaim them once they're out, and they will have grown interest because you can stand on the street corner and say, I served my country and now I believe thus and so. Can't do it in uniform while you're serving. The military says it needs to preserve what they call good order and discipline. Discipline is the key word.
The thing is that he is getting a certain amount of support from people, even on our blog, Home Post. There are a lot of people who are supporting his right, and he is claiming that it's his constitutional right of free speech. Now, the ACLU, who stand up for that, actually did go to bat for him apparently a couple of years ago. But what's different?
When he first did his blog, Armed Forces Tea Party, the ACLU sent a letter to his commanding officer saying, essentially, tread lightly now. He does have certain rights. I understand you have needs too, good order and discipline, but tread lightly. And they did. And he took down certain comments and away he went. Now, 2 years later, he put other comments up, different commanding officer, I might point out. And now they looked into it. They decided no criminal charges. The comments weren't all that flamboyant, weren't all that out of line. But he did say that he disagreed with the commander-in-chief about this, this, and this. And they looked into it, and they said, no criminal charges. We're going to do an administrative procedure, which will probably end up with him being demoted and dismissed from the military prior to July, which was to be the end of his active duty service. He had hoped to re-enlist. He's 26 years old, 9 years in, so he's like halfway to a pension. I don't see that occurring. I see him being either dismissed or sort of set down at a desk. He's a weather forecaster. Set down on a desk just to ride the desk until it's over, till he's out of the United States Marine Corps.
What's your sense, though? Is he a provocateur? Is he someone who is genuinely trying to bring military brass to his way of thinking, which is, look, troops put their lives on their line in the name of political policies, certain political policies, and they ought to be entitled to express their opinion?
I think he's a very honest young man who really believes that that should be the case, that if you're having to put your life on the line for political decisions, you ought to be able to express your views about that under certain regulations. He claims that he hasn't broken the Department of Defense regulations. He's never spoken out in uniform. He's never prefaced some of his comments by saying, I'm a Marine and therefore I believe thus and so. Yes, but you did start a website that said Armed Forces Tea Party, and you have said certain things. I think he's genuine, and he really does believe this. On the other hand, to be quite candid, 2012, with all that's going on in the United States military foreign policy, I think he's trying to put a saddle on a dead horse.
Well, the thing is that I guess the question is, what is the specific thing that has made the military sort of crack down now and say, look, we're going to ask you to leave? Is it because he was criticizing the commander-in-chief? And from that perspective, I think it's important to look at how, whatever political persuasion you have, I mean, he might have been criticizing George Bush. In this particular case, it was Obama. But is that the key point?
Seems to be, and he said on the website he wouldn't follow unlawful orders, and he defined those as the order to kill Americans. You may remember there's that issue about Americans that go over to Al Qaeda, can they be killed? And then also take weapons away from Americans. I'm not sure where that came out. And then he also said we've all got to get together here and defeat President Obama with a Republican.
Okay, we're going to have to move on to pension reform. Allison, this week, the City of San Diego's independent budget analyst came out and said that savings from the pension reform ballot measure on the June ballot would not come from moving city workers over to these 401k style pension plans, but would come from freezing their salaries. Have voters been misled?
Well, I think that is something voters really need to consider carefully, is if they're voting for pension reform because they believe that people need to be moved from a guaranteed pension to a 401k like the private sector has, then what this reveals is that is not going to save the city money. And in fact, it's going to cost the city money over the long term, $13 million over 30 years. So for the voter who is voting for it because they believe that public servants should not actually be getting a guaranteed pension, they should be getting the same pension, that has turned out not to be the case. So the other side of it is, though, that it will save the city money if, in fact, the second part of the provision holds true, which is that they would cap the pensionable pay, the pay on which the pension is based, for the next 5 years. So,
but there is no guarantee of that either. San Diego City Attorney Jan Goldsmith has said that, look, that is an initial bargaining position, but the City Council can override it by 6 votes. So is there any guarantee if this ballot measure is passed that there would be a savings?
Well, I think that if you're a voter hoping that this measure is going to save the city millions of dollars, that is the disappointing conclusion from both the IBA's analysis and the city attorney's analysis, that, you know, one of them won't save the city money and the other one would, but it's not legally binding. So that, you know, it can be the city's original bargaining position to go in saying we're going to freeze these pensionable pay levels, but you know, the courts could say you have to go back and meet and confer and negotiate. You cannot just set pay by a voter's initiative. It's not legally binding. So the totality of it is that, unfortunately, however much voters might have wanted this thing to guarantee a huge amount of savings, it doesn't guarantee any savings for the city.
It just seems so difficult. Man and boy, we have been at this for a decade in San Diego, and yet there is still so much more to go. Those things which can happen overnight in the private sector, non-unionized private sector, seem to take in the public sector years and years and years of litigation and lawsuits and even criminal charges. Is there any sort of hope out there that the city will one day be done with this and it won't dominate our public discussion as it does now?
Well, I think that, you know, if you listen to what the mayoral candidates are saying, Bob Filner, who is the one mayoral candidate who disagrees with the initiative, he is saying, look, there are ways to cut the pension costs for the city, but not by sort of fiat, by an initiative. I mean, I think that's the trouble with initiatives, is that they are sometimes, almost always, when they're controversial, challenged in the courts. So that isn't necessarily going to be the quick way to find the solution.
He wants
either.
pension bonds. I mean, isn't that akin to debt consolidation loans? Just obligate, in this case, our children for the next decade?
The county of San Diego has taken out pension bonds to solve its pension crisis, and they did that years ago, resulting in an apparently very stable situation, but it's as a result of bonds.
I want to jump in here really quickly. So 3 of the 4 mayoral candidates, you mentioned Congressman Filner, but the other 3,
yes,
Nathan Fletcher, Carl DeMaio, and Bonnie Dumanis, has this independent budget analyst report changed their point of view at all?
I don't think so, no. They're basically focusing on, it all depends on how you focus on it, and if they're focusing on the savings of more than $900 million over 30 years, I guess ignoring the legal challenges, it does look like a good measure to save the city money. So that is the aspect of this initiative that they are continuing to support.
Okay, Allison St. John, Tony Perry, thank you for speaking to us today.